When the message appeared on her phone, Eleanor Hart almost dropped her teacup. "Borrowed your old ring for the gala, Grandma. Hope you don't mind." The words shimmered on the screen, as bright and poisonous as Savannah's usual perfume. Ellie's thumb hovered above the keyboard. She smiled, softly, almost tenderly, and typed, "Have fun, dear." Then she set the cup down, reached for the old rotary phone on the sideboard, and dialed a number she hadn't used in years. "Marcus," she said, when the voice on the other end answered, calm and steady. "Activate the protocol. Inventory item 847 has been taken." For a moment, silence hummed between them. Then the lawyer's voice grew taut. "Eleanor, are you sure?" "Quite sure," she replied. "And Marcus, make it official." When she hung up, the world outside her window felt unnaturally still, the kind of silence that exists just before a storm. Her house sat at the end of Maple Grove Lane, the same colonial home she and her late husband, Thomas, had restored brick by brick after their wedding 40 years ago. The garden was their shared masterpiece, climbing roses, lavender hedges, and a white bench beneath an old maple. Yet lately, Ellie found herself invisible among her own roses, like a ghost haunting a home that no longer belonged to her. Savannah, her daughter-in-law, had seen to that. From the day Savannah married Ellie's son, Drew, 10 years earlier, she had rebranded the Hart family as her own. Elegant, assertive, immaculate. Savannah knew how to bend a room to her liking. She'd turned Ellie's quiet home into a stage for dinner parties and networking soirees. At first, Ellie tried to stay gracious, to believe it was good for Drew's career. But then came the comments. "Ellie, dear, the silverware's outdated. Mind if I replace it? Ellie, the beige curtains make the house look old, and the one that burned deepest. Drew and I think it might be safer if you moved to a retirement community. You'd make friends there, have activities." As if she were already fading from relevance. Ellie swallowed the humiliation in silence, because Thomas had taught her that dignity wasn't something you fought for in words. It was something you proved in timing. And Thomas had also left her something else, a secret that no one, not even Drew, knew existed. Years earlier, while Thomas was battling illness, he had started collecting rare art and jewelry, quietly under Eleanor's name. They'd hidden the collection behind a false wall in her bedroom, catalogued meticulously, each piece insured and registered under a coded system Marcus called the Hart Inventory. Ellie had never flaunted wealth. She preferred simplicity. But every piece represented trust, history, and love. A treasure built not of greed, but of memory. The ring Savannah had borrowed wasn't some old trinket. It was a 1920 French pink diamond, 5 carats, one of the most valuable items in the collection. To the untrained eye, it looked antique, but modest. To a jeweler, it was worth $3 million. Ellie had seen the theft happen that morning. She had been pruning the roses when Savannah slipped into her room without knocking, her reflection gliding across the vanity mirror. The younger woman opened the small wooden jewelry box that Ellie often left on her dresser, a decoy for everyday items. Savannah picked up the ring, turning it in the light, her mouth curling in quiet satisfaction. An hour later came the text. It wasn't the ring that broke something inside Eleanor. It was the entitlement, the certainty that she could take what wasn't hers, and that Ellie would be too old, too harmless, too invisible to notice. But this time, Ellie noticed everything. In Marcus's downtown office, alarms would already be ringing quietly through the insurance database. The protocol Thomas had designed ensured that any unauthorized movement of a registered piece triggered immediate legal action. Within the hour, the police would have a warrant to recover it, no matter where it was. As the clock ticked toward evening, Ellie sat on the porch, the last sunlight washing her face in amber. Savannah's laughter drifted faintly from inside, bright and brittle. Drew's voice followed, soft, apologetic, always yielding. Ellie sipped her cooling tea and smiled again, this time without warmth. For 10 years, she whispered to the empty garden, I let them write me out of my own story. Tonight, I'll sign my name back in ink they can't erase. Inside, the grandfather clock struck 6. Somewhere across town, Savannah Cole Hart adjusted her gold gown in the mirror, the stolen pink diamond blazing on her finger. And Eleanor Hart, the woman she thought invisible, began the quiet countdown to her reckoning. Exactly 60 minutes left. The Langford Hotel glowed like a palace that night. Crystal chandeliers poured gold light over the marble floor. Violins floated through the air, and champagne flutes sparkled like a field of stars. Savannah Cole Hart stood at the center of it all, radiant in a gold silk gown, her hair swept into a perfect chignon. On her finger blazed the pink diamond ring, a soft fire that drew every gaze in the room. Oh, this old thing, she laughed when a socialite gasped at the sparkle. A family heirloom. My mother-in-law gave it to me. Sentimental value only. Her smile was effortless, but her words dripped with satisfaction. To her, Eleanor was just a prop in her story, a forgetful old woman who would never notice one missing ring. Outside, rain began to whisper against the hotel windows. Inside, the music swelled, and Savannah basked in her reflection, the ring flashing like stolen lightning. Then, across the room, the doors opened, and silence rippled through the crowd. 3 police officers entered. Their dark uniforms looked out of place among the gowns and tuxedos. The violinist faltered mid-note. Heads turned. Conversations died. Mrs. Savannah Cole Hart? The lead officer, Lieutenant Naomi Brooks, held up a folded paper. Her tone was polite, professional, and sharp as glass. We have a warrant to recover a stolen item currently in your possession. For a moment, Savannah laughed, thinking it a mistake. I'm sorry, what? The pink diamond ring on your right hand, Brooks said evenly. It's been reported stolen by its legal owner, Mrs. Eleanor Hart. Estimated value, $3 million. Savannah froze. The ballroom air turned heavy. That's impossible, she said, voice tightening. My mother-in-law gave me this ring. The lieutenant raised an eyebrow. We have a text message from you stating, borrowed your old ring for the gala, hope you don't mind. That message indicates acknowledgement, not permission. Cameras clicked. Someone started recording on their phone. The scent of scandal spread faster than perfume. Drew, Savannah hissed. Her husband appeared from across the room, pale and confused. Tell them this is ridiculous. Drew's tie was crooked, his eyes frantic. There must be some mistake. Mom would never... Then through the parted crowd, Eleanor appeared. She walked slowly, deliberately, her emerald shawl draped over her shoulders, her posture unshakable. Behind her came Marcus Hale, the family lawyer, his briefcase clutched like a weapon of truth. The ballroom fell completely silent. Good evening, Eleanor said softly. I'm here to clarify the situation. Mom, Drew's voice cracked. Why did you... Eleanor turned to him with a calm so cold it burned. Because the woman you married stole from me. Savannah stepped forward, voice trembling with outrage. This is insane. I didn't steal anything. I just borrowed it. Eleanor's eyes met hers. Borrowing implies permission. You never asked. Marcus handed the lieutenant a folder thick with documents, appraisals, insurance certificates, inventory logs, each stamped and signed. The ring is officially registered as part of the Hart Estate collection. Item 847. Savannah's jaw tightened. You can't be serious. Quite, Marcus said. And Mrs. Hart has chosen to file for grand theft. The officers stepped closer. Savannah backed away, voice rising. Drew, tell them. It's just a ring. But Drew had stopped listening. He was staring at the paperwork, the official seals, the undeniable truth. His mouth opened, then closed again. "Savannah," he whispered, "what did you do?" She turned on him, desperate. "You think I'd steal from your mother? From her? She doesn't even know what she owns." Eleanor's reply cut through the chaos. "I know exactly what I own. I just didn't realize what I'd lost, until now." The officers moved in. Cuffs clicked. Savannah gasped as the cold metal closed around her wrists. Cameras flashed. Guests whispered behind jeweled hands. "You're making a mistake," she cried. "You'll ruin everything." Eleanor stepped closer, her voice low enough for only Savannah to hear. "You ruined it yourself the moment you believed I was too old to fight back." Lieutenant Brooks gestured toward the exit. "Mrs. Colehart, you have the right to remain silent." As they led her through the crowd, Savannah's reflection fractured across a dozen mirrors. Perfect hair, perfect dress, wrists bound in steel. Drew stood frozen, his world collapsing in slow motion. "Mom," he whispered, "what have you done?" Eleanor turned toward him, her eyes glistening but steady. "No, Drew," she said quietly. "What she's done, I just stopped pretending not to see it." The string quartet began again, awkward and trembling. Conversations resumed in broken whispers. The ring, sealed in an evidence bag, glittered under the ballroom lights. No longer a trophy, but proof. Eleanor left the hotel without looking back. Rain slicked the pavement, washing the city clean. Behind her, Savannah's name was already trending on every phone in the room. For the first time in a decade, Eleanor Hart didn't feel invisible. She felt heard. Morning sunlight spilled through the kitchen windows of Maple Grove Lane, painting the old oak table in soft gold. For the first time in years, Drew was the one making coffee. The sound of the grinder broke the uneasy silence that lingered between him and his mother. Eleanor watched him quietly, her hands folded in her lap. "You don't have to," she said softly. "I want to," Drew murmured. His voice was heavy, the kind of voice that carried the weight of realization. "I didn't sleep last night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. The cuffs, the cameras. She made her choices," Eleanor replied. "And so did you." He flinched, understanding what she meant. 10 years of silence, of letting Savannah's cruelty slide in the name of peace, had its price. "Mom," he whispered, "I thought if I stayed out of it, it would sort itself out." "Cruelty doesn't sort itself out, Drew," she said, her tone gentle but firm. "It organizes itself, until someone stops it." The phone rang before he could answer. Marcus Hale's voice crackled through the receiver, brisk and controlled. "Eleanor, we have new developments. You'd better sit down." Within an hour, Marcus arrived with a folder so thick it looked like it could crush a conscience. Behind him was Dana Whitaker, the private investigator. Her trench coat dripped with rain. Her expression was all business. "Savannah's arrest was just the beginning," Marcus began, opening the folder. "The police searched her office this morning. They found a hidden room in the basement, filled with photographs of other families' homes, jewelry, art pieces, security codes. She wasn't just stealing from you, Eleanor. She was running an information network." Drew blinked. "You mean she was working with thieves?" Dana nodded. "Selling intelligence. She'd attend charity events, photograph valuables, learn people's schedules. Then she'd sell the information to professionals. We're talking multi-state operations, millions in losses." Eleanor felt the blood drain from her face. The woman who'd mocked her tea habits and floral curtains had been running a criminal enterprise right under her roof. Marcus turned another page. "It gets worse. We found emails between Savannah and an estate lawyer named Victor Lang. She was researching how to have you declared mentally incompetent. They were drafting documents to move you into a nursing home." Drew's voice broke. "God, Mom." "She used your forgetfulness against you," Dana added. "Every time you thought you misplaced a brooch or earring, she was taking it and telling Drew you were losing memory. It was calculated." Eleanor sat back, her eyes distant. She remembered the smirk, the patronizing tone. You really should label your drawers, Eleanor. It's normal for older people to forget. That false sympathy now echoed like poison. So she was going to take everything, Drew said, his knuckles white around the coffee mug. Marcus nodded grimly. Once she had you declared incompetent, she'd have full control of your assets. That pink ring wasn't just theft, it was arrogance. She thought she was untouchable. Dana slid a small recorder across the table. We also have audio. Savannah told Victor Lang. The old woman doesn't even know what she has. I could steal half her collection, and she'd never notice. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut. Eleanor reached for the recorder, pressed play, and listened to Savannah's voice, smug, cruel, certain. Then she pressed stop and said quietly, "It's time everyone knows who she really is." Marcus hesitated. There's something else. The FBI's Art Crimes Division is getting involved. This crosses state lines. Good, Eleanor replied. Let them take everything she built out of lies and burn it down. A week later, 2 federal agents arrived, Agent Maya Ortiz and Agent Lucas Chen. They laid out the evidence, 12 families, $2 million, and a web of deceit that all traced back to Savannah Cole Hart. Mrs. Hart, Ortiz said, we believe your daughter-in-law was a key link in a larger theft ring. Her arrest triggered half a dozen warrants nationwide. Drew sank into a chair, disbelief on his face. I lived with her for 10 years. How did I not see it? Because she made sure you didn't, Eleanor said. She built walls around your guilt and called it love. Agent Chen added, Savannah's cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence. She's giving up names and locations of stolen pieces. Eleanor looked out the window toward the rain-streaked garden. Even in ruin, she's negotiating. Some people never stop playing the game. Marcus leaned forward. The media's already catching wind of this. We need to control the story. If you're ready, we'll hold a press conference. Tell your truth before others twist it. Eleanor smiled faintly. You mean, after 10 years of being invisible, they finally want to hear me? More than that, Marcus said. They need to. That night, Eleanor stood in front of her mirror, pulling out the emerald dress she hadn't worn since Thomas's last anniversary. Savannah had once mocked it. Too old-fashioned for modern women. Now, Eleanor slipped it on. It fit perfectly. She looked at her reflection and whispered, Tomorrow, I'll stop being their ghost. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, the sound of something ending and something far stronger beginning. The press conference hall at City Hall was packed. Reporters, flashing cameras, murmuring voices. It felt like the world had finally turned its eyes toward Eleanor Hart. For 10 years, she had been the invisible old woman everyone spoke over. Now, she was the story. When Marcus Hale stepped to the microphone, his calm voice cut through the noise. Good morning. We're here on behalf of Mrs. Eleanor Hart, who not only uncovered a major art theft ring, but also exposed a decade-long case of elder abuse and financial exploitation, conducted by her own daughter-in-law, Savannah Cole Hart. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then Marcus gestured toward the podium. Mrs. Hart has something to say. Eleanor stood, her emerald dress gleaming under the white lights. Her movements were slow but deliberate. She placed both hands on the podium, leaned toward the microphones, and began. For years, I was told I was too old to matter, that my memory was slipping, that my voice was a nuisance. But the truth is, I was never losing my memory. I was losing my patience. The room went still. Cameras zoomed in as she continued. Age is not weakness. Silence is not confusion. What was stolen from me wasn't just jewelry. It was respect. And tonight, I'm taking it back. The applause was hesitant at first, then thunderous. Tears filled Eleanor's eyes, but her voice didn't waver. She spoke not as a victim, but as a survivor. Later that evening, the headlines lit up the nation. Grandmother unmasks $2 million theft ring. Eleanor Hart becomes face of elder justice movement. The calls poured in. News stations, talk shows, even senators wanting to meet her. But what moved her most were the messages from strangers. An old man in Florida who wrote, "You gave me courage to speak up against my own son." And a widow from Ohio who said, "You reminded me I'm still someone." With Marcus's help, she founded the Hart Foundation for Elder Protection, using part of her husband's hidden fortune to fund legal aid and awareness campaigns for senior victims of abuse. Within months, it grew into a national cause. Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation cracked wide open. Agent Maya Ortiz called one morning with the final update. Mrs. Hart, Savannah's information led to the arrest of 15 people, fences, appraisers, and thieves across 5 states. She's looking at 12 years in federal prison, even with cooperation. Eleanor exhaled, not in triumph, but in closure. "Then let justice do its work," she said. Still, one call came she hadn't expected. "Mrs. Hart, it's Savannah," a weary voice said from the prison phone line. "I know I have no right, but please, just hear me." Eleanor hesitated, then answered, "Go ahead." "I never meant for it to go that far," Savannah said between ragged breaths. "At first it was a brooch, then a necklace, and when no one noticed, I couldn't stop. It made me feel powerful. For the first time, I felt like I mattered." Eleanor closed her eyes. "And to feel important, you had to make someone else small." "I envied you," Savannah whispered. "Your grace. The way people respected you without you even trying. I wanted that. And when I couldn't have it, I tried to destroy it." Eleanor's voice softened. "You destroyed yourself instead. I hope someday you learn the difference between power and peace." There was silence. Then the call disconnected. A year later, Eleanor stood once more in her garden, the same one Savannah had wanted to bulldoze for her modern entertainment area. The roses were in full bloom, deep crimson, bright as the dawn. Drew stepped beside her, holding a small velvet box. "I thought you might want this back," he said. Inside lay the pink diamond ring, recovered, polished, flawless. Eleanor smiled faintly. "No, Drew, keep it, but not as treasure. Keep it as reminder of what blindness costs." Drew nodded, eyes misting. "Mom, I'm proud of you. For everything." Behind him stood Natalie Brooks, his new partner, gentle, steady, kind. She offered Eleanor a genuine smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "It's an honor to finally meet the woman who taught an entire country to listen." For the first time in years, Eleanor felt something warm unfurl inside her. Peace. Not the quiet kind forced by fear, but the kind earned through truth. That evening, she sat in her study, staring at the Foundation's website, lighting up with messages of gratitude. On her desk lay a small card that read, "The strongest voices are those once silenced." She turned toward the window. Outside, the moonlight glimmered on the pink diamond resting in its case. No longer a symbol of vanity, but of victory. "They called me invisible," she whispered to the night. "Turns out, I was just untouchable." And for the first time in a decade, Eleanor Hart smiled, not as a survivor, but as a legend.